you ready for Time in the Word?
Time in the Word. 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 Time in the Word.
Everybody gather round, there's a message coming down, and you really ought to hear what the living victory here. To the people of God, it's time for rejoicing in Jesus.
Welcome to Time in the Word, presented by Rejoice in Jesus Ministries, an on-fire, Bible-centered teaching ministry based in Los Angeles, California, with outreaches throughout the United States, stretching from coast to coast. Join us now as Pastor Chester C. Pippin Jr. brings us an exciting, anointed message. Turn your Bibles up to Psalm 105. The title of this message, the Lord kind of spoke it to me on the way here, is No Pain, No Promise. No pain, no promise. You know, in the world you hear that saying, no pain, no gain. That's very, very true. Any ex-athletes out there? Yeah, I was too, about 120 pounds ago. I had this coach, and to this day, right now, in the city of Los Angeles, he is still a legend. He's one of the all-time greatest coaches as far as youth basketball is concerned. And I was in the 7th grade playing at a park in South Central Los Angeles, a park called, and I will remember this park, Sportsman's Park. They'll take your lunch money. And not only that. So I played in this league, very competitive league, as a 7th grader. And this man, this coach, he came in because he would go throughout the entire city from east to west just recruiting kids to train them and play with him. And we traveled, you know, it was a travel ball, AAU team, travel ball team. And so he saw me play in this one game. I had a good game. And he saw me playing, and something just in him, he just said, man, I want this kid. So after the game was over, he came to me, and my father walked up to us, and he said, I knew who he was. And he said, hi, I'm Chuck Moore, and he started talking to my dad about me playing for him. Well, you know, travel ball costs a lot of money. And my dad was my dad was raising 4 boys by himself. You know, 2 jobs, raising 4 boys. So my dad came up to me and said, yeah, he wants you to play for him. He said, his name is, I said, I know his name, Dad. That's Chuck Moore. That's Coach Moore. He's like one of the best coaches in the city. And my father was like, yeah, but I don't have the money for you to play travel ball. So Chuck went out into the parking lot, and then he turned around, and he came back, and he told my father, and he said, look, I see something in your son. You don't have to pay. And then he walked out. The first day of practice, there was about 30 of us, because what he would do is he would recruit all these kids, and then what he would do is he would prove you, test you, to see if you were tough and strong enough up here to play for him, because he was extremely smart. To this day, I have not met anyone. And he declined all kind of college. You know, he could have been a college coach. He could have did so many things. But he loved children. He loved kids. So my first day, it's like 30 of us. And I was the only 7th grader. The other kids were 8th and 9th graders. I was the only 7th grader. And so we all came in there and we're, shooting the ball and all that. And he came in, he said, all right, put all the balls up. Put them in that bag right over there. And everybody get on the baseline. So I'm like, I played as sportsmen. We ran a little bit, but we practiced and ran a little bit. But he was like, everybody get on the baseline. Anybody ever heard of suicides? Here's a suicide in basketball. You stand on the baseline, you run to the free throw line, and then you run back. Then you run the half court, and then you run back. And then you run the full court, and then you run back. That's one suicide. Now, he got us on the line, and he said, okay, we're going to run 10 suicides. And you have 4 minutes. And everybody had to make it. It wasn't like just, half of us make it, and then if a couple of them straggled in. No, everyone had to beat the mark. Well, we didn't. We didn't make it. He said, oh, man, I got some work to do here. Back on the baseline. Now, we're sweating because you're running as hard as you can. That's why he put a time limit on it. And I'm sitting there like, oh, my God, what the heck did I get into? And I'm sitting there like, oh, man, am I going to be able to make these next 10? And so right when I was like bending over like this, at least 5 of the guys said, man, start cussing and blank that, I'm out of here. This ain't worth it, I'm out of here. He said, go, 10 more. We come back, we didn't make it. You just didn't make it. Back on the baseline. 7 more guys. Now, there's about, I think, maybe about 9 to 10 left. 10, maybe 12, about 12 guys left, maybe. And he looked at us, and he said, anybody else want to quit? All of us wanted to. All of us. All of us want to quit. But, remember in the scripture it says, will you lead me too? It's like, where are we going to go? You have the words of life. And so we stuck it out. And he said, okay, you don't have to run anymore. Get the balls out. He said, I just wanted to see who was going to endure. I just wanted to see who was going to be able to go through the pain. Because the competition that we're going to face, the opposition that we're going to face, is unlike you've ever seen. I'm talking about kids all over the country. New York, New Jersey, Chicago, Texas, Louisiana. We're playing against the best of the best. And I cannot have weakness. We went on that year, traveled and took so many tournaments under his direction and under his leadership. Now, the thing about it, there were times, for example, he would have he had this paddle, huge paddle, had holes in it. And he used to always say, I'm so holy. I am so holy. How many of you want to be holy? And I was like, no, sir, I don't want to be holy. And the only way you would get the SWAT is if you cursed, said the N word, or yelled back at him. If that happened, he wouldn't hesitate. He stopped the car on Manchester Western. Stop the van. He stopped the van. We'd be driving in the van. He would stop the van. Everybody's like, he said, who said that? We're like, who said what? Dude could hear, man. I mean, I'm like, where'd you get these ears from? I said it, Chuck. I said it. Come on out here. Put your hands up. Wham! Wow. Right there in public. Wow. He wasn't playing. He's one of my toughest coaches. But let me tell you something. I learned so much from him. I learned so much from him that caused me to excel in basketball when I was in high school. And I remember going to him afterwards and saying, you know, years later, you know, you were tough. You were tough on us, Coach. But I want to tell you, I appreciate you. And I thank you for all that you did. I thank you how you spoke to me. I mean, he did not, this man spoke up. He said what he felt. But he also had a very compassionate side to him. And he loved us like his own children. And to this day, I know that there's some things that I learned from him that has helped me in the kingdom. Psalm 105. Let's look at verse 17. It's verse 17. He sent, now they're talking about Joseph here. He sent a man before them. They're talking about the Lord, even Joseph, who was sold as a servant. Do we have it? Psalm 105? Psalm 105, verse 17. He sent a man before them, even Joseph, who was sold as a servant. His feet, and I'm reading from the Amplified, and his feet they hurt with fetters. He was laid in chains of iron, and his soul entered into the iron. Until his word, verse 19, until his word came true, until the word of the Lord tried and tested him. I'm going to read that again. From verse 18. His feet they hurt with fetters. He was laid in chains of iron, and his soul entered into the iron until the word of the Lord tried and tested him. Now, the first thing, if we know about Joseph, Joseph got a word from God. He got a vision from the Lord. Now, unfortunately, he opened up his big mouth a little bit too soon when he shouldn't have, and shared the vision with his brothers. And what he was telling them basically is, whole family, one day you're going to be bowing down before me. I'm going to be y'all leader. I'm going to be over all of you. And his brothers, who were already upset and envious because of the favor he had with the father. His father made him a coat of many colors. And so his brothers were like, man, you crazy. So what they decided to do was put him, first they had decided they were going to try to kill him. But then they changed their mind. I believe Reuben fought for him and said, no, we can't do that. And they threw him in a pit. And then some Egyptians came along and they sold him. They sold him and made him a slave, and he went into Egypt. Then they went home and lied, said he had been killed. Now his dad is upset, his dad is hurt, his dad is grieving, had no idea that his son was out in Egypt. But Joseph had a promise. Joseph had gotten a vision, a beautiful promise that God had given him. It's amazing how God can speak to us and give us a promise, and then all hell will break loose. All hell will break loose in your life. All hell will break loose. How many of you have been there where God has spoken to you to the point where you will end up, the trial can become so tough that you begin to get discouraged and wonder and begin to question, is this going to happen for me? Was I hearing God, or did I eat too much pizza that day? Was God really talking to me? Did he really say this? Maybe my motive is not right. And that could be, God will deal with you along the way, and that's the purpose of the process. He will allow you to go through all kinds of stuff. I remember the job that I previously just had. When I got the position, I was very new to the industry. I was a maintenance tech, but they gave me a higher position than normal, than anyone that would come into the company not knowing anything. I knew nothing. I didn't know how to fix anything. And here I am working for this huge, one of their premier buildings that they hired me for because one guy believed in me. He interviewed me and said, I don't care if you don't know anything. I like your attitude. I'm going to hire you, and I'm thinking, da-da-da. So I started working for this man. And this man, for 1 year, put me through the ringer. And I'm putting it lightly. This man treated me so badly. And one of the things that he did not do was develop me and train me. See, they were training me. They had hired me because they had hopes for me getting into management. When they put me under him, he said, he decided, oh, they're not around either? He treated me horribly. And I remember I was talking to Yvette about it one day, and it was just, I was really hurt. I was really upset. And she's like, well, maybe it's time to start looking for something else. And I said, and I really was thinking, maybe that's what I need to do. And I remember going to the Lord about it. And the Lord said, wait. That's all he said. Wait. That's encouraging. Wait in this mess. Wait. Wait for what? This dude disrespects me. Don't he know who I am? I'm from the hood, cuz. I'll knock him out. See, that's the very thing that Jesus was after. That was coming out of me. And I remember I would go back to work. I was like, and then one day, whoo, help me, Jesus, help me. I forgave him. I came to work. And I was getting my cart to go, and it was the first time I was allowed to go into an apartment to actually to get the apartment ready for it to be leased. And I had the big old cart, my tools and everything, and I'm rolling. And he was on the other side of the parking lot, and I could hear him yelling, Russell! And I said, what? Get over here! I'm like, Jesus, just please, one to the chin, please. No, shut up. Yes, William. Pick it up. I said, pick what up? That pile of poop? Pick it up now. And my flesh, I wanted to say, what? Why couldn't you just pick it up? I could hear the Holy Spirit, die, 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 die. I went to my cart, got my little pooper bag, got it up. And the Holy Spirit was like, is that being a man of excellence? What are you talking about? That's poop. There was a place where we had a water hose there. So I went, grabbed it. He's sitting up there watching me. Grabbed it, washed it down, scrubbed it, put everything up. And then the Holy Spirit, I was going back to the cart. I was kind of mad. I was like, Lord, help me. And the Holy Spirit said, ask him, is there anything else he would like you to do? William, is there anything else you would like me to do? And for the first time, I saw him look at me, was like, wow. No, just go ahead, go. I left. Well, there was a tenant that had been walking across the parking lot. And she heard and saw what he did. I had been working in her building. And when I was working in her building, and this is one of the greatest things that I've learned from being in this ministry, of serving God faithfully and with all your heart and with an attitude of excellence. When I look around this room, I see that. Anybody that's been here any length of time, Irish, Shantae, Touche, Irma, Lydia, Lisa, Vaughn, Shelly, everyone. Tab. I see nothing but excellence. Gwen, oh God, oh shoot. Don't get Gwen in no books, accounting books. No, that ain't right. No, that ain't right. Nope. Attitudes of excellence. Ebony, Dejanay, everyone. Michael T. Oh my God. Man can clean house. Lauren and, oh yeah, he can rap. Lauren and John, and of course my wife. But what I'm saying is, we've been taught to do things with excellence and with a righteous heart and with a heart as unto the Lord. And so that doesn't mean it's always easy. That doesn't mean that you ain't gonna have to deal with your flesh. But I didn't do it perfectly. I'm not gonna sit up here and lie to you. My flesh was kicking. But when it came down to it, I said, Lord, I gotta submit to you, whatever you're saying. And see, that's the definition of meekness. Meekness means you can actually do it yourself, but you decide to do it God's way instead of your own way. That's another definition for meekness. Meekness doesn't mean that you're just no, you obey God. Even though you know you could do it your way and another way, you decide to submit to God and do it his way. And so I was like, this woman sent an email to our staff, our company, our building manager, our community manager. She sent it to her and explained how she felt embarrassed on how I was treated in that situation. But then she could have just said that. But she said, our building has never looked like this since that man has been here. How dare you guys let him be treated that way? Now get this. So that's one. There's a guy that actually worked for our company. He was at another building. He didn't work at that building. He lived there, but he worked at another building. He saw the vice president, and the vice president was telling him, we want to move you and move you up to Toluca to manage that building. Is there anybody that you can think of that could take your spot in Santa Monica? And he said, you know what, there is. There's a guy at my building. And he's been doing a great job. And his attitude, and he began to tell him how the manager, he had seen how the supervisor had treated me. And he said, what's his name? He says, Russell Moore. So here I am one day, I'm there at work, just still minding my own business. The vice president showed up. He came. Everybody there kissing his butt. Ooh, VP here. I'm just doing my thing, I'm just doing me. And he called me to the office. And he said, and when I got there, he said, hi, my name is John Smith. Are you Russell? I said, yeah. Now this is in front of everybody, all the entire staff. I felt like I was having a David moment later. He said, I've heard about you, and I've heard about the work that you've done here. I was wondering if you were willing, if we want to promote you and send you over to Santa Monica if you're willing to go. I said, what? And immediately insecurities hit me because I'm just been there a year. Most guys would not have this position. It would take at least 5 to 7 years to get this position. I didn't have the experience. So I'm like, are you sure? He said, no, you're the one that we want. Then he pulled me outside. He said, I heard how you were being treated by William. And he said, I tell you what, how much more do you want to get paid? Oh, you ain't got to say nothing else to me. You ain't got to say nothing else to me. Anyway, they promoted me. And praise God, that's a blessing. It was a blessing. I was like, wow. But you know what really, truly blessed me? A week later, one of my coworkers, she came up to me. Her name is Maria. And she said, Russell, is there any way I could talk to you for a minute? And I said, yeah, sure. Martha, I'm sorry. I said Maria. Martha. And so I said, yeah, sure. What's up? And she said, I want what you got. I said, well, I don't know if you want what I got. What do you mean? She said, I've seen how you've been treated for a year, and I don't understand why you don't retaliate, why you don't get mad, why you still enjoy, you still. And I said, oh, you want to know my secret? His name is Jesus. His name is Jesus.
We would like to send you a tape of this entire message. For any donation of $5 or more, we will send you a CD. For any donations of $12 or more, we will send you a DVD. Please write to us at Rejoice in Jesus Ministries, P.O. Box 47775, Los Angeles, California, 90047, or call 323-REJOICE. Please mention tape offer number TITW 1378. That is tape offer number TITW 1378.
Hi. You know the Bible says that all things are upheld by the power of this word. That means when you put the word in your heart, it will produce life and health to all your flesh. It will also produce faith so that whatever you come up against, you can overcome it. But remember, you won't have the victory you desire unless you make a decision to not allow anything to get in the way of your intimacy with Jesus, nor allow anything to distract you from your time in the Word.
Thank you for watching Time in the Word. If you were blessed by today's message, we'd love to hear from you. You can write us at P.O. Box 47775, Los Angeles, California, 90047. Or call us at 323-735-6923. That's 323-REJOICE. And if you're in the Los Angeles area, visit our worship service on Saturday nights at 7:30 p.m., 1304 Cochran Avenue, corner of Cochran and Packard Street. And again, thank you for watching Time in the Word.